Get your questions ready for the Fishing Call-In Show. 1 hour, we have a panel to answer all your questions. 1-800-944-4664.
Tastes like victory.
Deal with Sugar over here. You good, dog?
She's 3.5. She's with me all the time.
Hello and welcome to Kentucky Afield. I'm Tim Farmer. Tonight we have a special 1 hour call-in show all about fishing in Kentucky. It's that time of year. Of course, you can fish all the time, but we're going to take some questions tonight. To my left, Jeff Ross, Assistant Director of Fisheries. Thanks for being here tonight. To his left, John Williams, a first-timer here tonight, District Biologist down in the southeastern part of the state. And Officer Dustin Mullins, thanks for being here tonight. Take your law enforcement questions. Also want to thank the BOW, Becoming an Outdoor Women folks, for volunteering to answer the phones tonight. So when you hear their voices, that's who you're talking to. And also, right up here, quick, I'm going to do this, but we're going to get as many questions as we can tonight answered. But listen to this letter. Tim, good morning. My name is Betsy Mullins. I am the wife of Conservation Officer Dustin Mullins. She goes on to say that he's going to be here tonight. And he's from a small town known as Sassafras. It goes on and on. She's sitting right over there, by the way. She says, Dustin has won the Mississippi Flyway Officer of the Year for the state of Kentucky. We want to say congratulations. And she goes on to say that no officer in the state of Kentucky has ever won this award. Real quick, tell us what that is, and congratulations.
Actually, a couple other officers have won it before me, but it's a Waterfowl Migratory Bird Officer of the Year award. Has to do with the Mississippi Flyway, all the states that are part of it, including the Canadian provinces, and it has to do with not only just law enforcement, but getting out in the community, doing stuff with Ducks Unlimited and other organizations like that, and
Somebody's super proud of you over there.
yes, I can tell. But it's definitely an honor to win that award.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm very proud of it.
Huge pay raise coming your way. Millions and millions of dollars. All right, let's get started. Jackie's from Knox County. You're planning to go back to the 24-inch size limit on striped bass at Lake Cumberland. I say John Williams on it. First time.
Yeah, that's
right,
in my
Agent?
neck of the woods.
That's your neck of the woods.
You may recall we did change the size limit on striped bass a few years ago to 22 inches, and the issue there was that striped bass were stressed because of the drawdown and weren't growing very well, and a lot of fish stockpiling just below that 24-inch size limit. So we changed it to 22 so anglers could harvest some of those fish and not have to catch and release trying to get their limit. Growth rates are a lot better now. The striped bass population is doing a lot better, but we'll probably monitor the growth rates for a few years before we decide to do anything with the size limit.
How's the lake doing? Is it fishing like a new lake? Is it going to, with all this?
Yeah, we're getting, I'm sure we'll get a new lake effect with flooding the timber. It filled up last year, and of course this year it's been really full. They've had the floodgates open on the dam, I think at least twice this spring. So a lot of new growth, a lot of sycamore trees, willow trees. So the cover should be tremendous for the next foreseeable future.
Joe's from Russell County. When's the next, or the new Hatchery Creek going to open? Oh yeah, when's that going to happen?
Well, there was everybody knows the winter and spring have been really rough. It put the contractors behind a little bit. There's a big team effort there. So it's actually going to open next May 6th, I think somewhere middle of May or so. They want to let the vegetation get in, finish up the work, get it vegetated before everybody goes trouncing through there, get it kind of established before everybody gets in there.
Don't be trouncing until it's time to
Well,
trounce.
it'd be tough going through that mud.
All right, real quick too, I want to say that we're going to take some questions on our Facebook page, Kentucky Afield Facebook page tonight. Have some questions, feel free to put them up there, and we'll answer a few of those as well. Bobby's from Franklin County. Are there plans to control the vegetation at Cedar Creek Lake?
Yes, we've looked at that before. Cedar Creek Lake in the last few years has gotten quite a bit of vegetation, and in the past we've stocked grass carp to try to control the vegetation. Right now we have a krill survey going on, and we're actually asking the anglers their opinion on the vegetation, whether they think it's too much or not enough. And vegetation is one of those things where a little's good, but too much can be a problem. So we will look at that in the future and possibly try to find the sweet spot on the amount of vegetation there.
Stephen Beats on Facebook, looking to catch a bass over 5 pounds in northern Kentucky. Which lake will give me the best shot at that? Would you not say Kincaid's probably?
Kincaid, for sure. It's got unbelievable number of big bass in it.
For a small
It's
lake.
tough to fish. It's got shad base, forage base, but they're in there. I've been out sampling with the district crews, and there's some big fish
They're in there. Bill's from Franklin County. Can you use a bowfish for bait in the Kentucky River, to shoot bait in the Kentucky River?
I would say it's a rough fish, so
It's rough fish,
you
yes.
can.
John is from Lancaster. You can't say Lancaster, it's from Lancaster. How large is the largest bass in Cedar Creek? What's the biggest fish that's been caught out there so far?
Well, we've heard of, 7 and 8 pound bass. I personally haven't seen one quite that big, but I've never known of an angler to lie about the size of their catch. So I would say there's at least
Including you, right?
8. Right, so there's some nice bass in Cedar Creek.
All right. This is Festus from Hazard, Kentucky. If I catch a fish that's not native Kentucky, does it count against my krill limit?
Well, each sport fish species has a creel limit. I guess it depends on what it is. If it's a fish that we consider a sport fish that has a creel limit, yes. If not, there was no creel limit on it, so catch as many as you want.
Bob is from Springfield. Are there any river monsters in Kentucky? Depends on what you call a river monster. Some big fish.
I saw a show where they were considering lampreys river monsters, so
Boy, they
we do have those.
Let's see. Willie wants to know, what's the solution for controlling the big head and silver carp in Barkley? And also have somebody on Facebook wondering what's going to happen. How's this going to affect things over the long term?
The densities are really high, and our department has worked really hard for federal funding and with the commercial anglers and with the fish processors out there. And the biggest thing we can do to get those out of there is to get a market going where the commercial anglers can go out and sell those fish and make a living at it and maybe export them or fish meal or things like that. So we really are pushing hard for the commercial guys to be able to get out there and get them out of there. So one thing for the anglers to know that we've got a special program for them to go out and net throughout the year if they get in contact and sign up for it. So they need to just be aware that these guys are out there and they are trying to help them out and help the sport fish.
Doug Hargis is from Ohio, the Cincinnati area, thanks to our Ohio viewers. Wants to know how much an out-of-state fishing license costs. Do you know right off the bat?
It would be
36.
I think it's 50 for a year, and then depending if there's a 1 day for $10, and I think there's a 7 day for 30 and a 14 day for 40.
Justin wants to know, did the white bass run as normal with all the high water? What happens to a white bass run when we have this big slug of muddy water coming through?
Well, I know it really interfered with the fishing. Most of the people I've talked to, the white bass run wasn't as good because probably part of the time is people couldn't get out to fish them.
Okay, Kevin wants to know, when will the Wolf Creek hatchery open?
That's the same. That's the hatchery down at
The stream.
The-
or
talking about the
stream down
stream.
at the hatchery.
Okay. David is from Bell County. He wants to know why we don't have yellow perch.
We have a few out in Kentucky Lake, I think.
Actually, we have a few in Wood Creek Lake, too, in Laurel County.
It's a northern species. I don't think it's it's not a native species for us.
Leslie's from Harlan County. What is a rockfish?
Well, also called striped bass. I think years ago they were referred to more as a rockfish, and now more as a striped bass, but that's the same fish. Now there's also a rock bass, which is a small stream fish. But
Glenn's from Oldham County. Somebody reported that there were a bunch of carp that ended up down below Cumberland Dam last year. Those were the Asian carp. Did we ever figure out what that was that caused that die-off?
I don't
Well,
think
no, we
had-
didn't see a die-off of the Asian carp below Wolf Creek Dam. And
No.
You're talking-
Cumberland River. Cumberland River.
Oh, yes. There was a die-off last year, and actually there was a small one this year. There's a lot of different ideas of what may be causing that.
I think they're trying to make the relation. Is there something we could figure out why that die-off
They,
happened?
they may be making a big push in a spawning run, and they think they may be actually pushing so hard they're hitting the impellers from the releases from the dam
wow.
because we're getting fish with their heads cut off and everything else. So it may be a spawning-related movement.
Dan is from Henry County. He wants to catch bowfin, and he wants to know what kind of bait to use.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Anything it can get its mouth around.
Yeah, they'll eat about anything. And you know, Western Kentucky, where do you find bowfin mainly?
Western, northwestern, maybe.
Yeah, it was in the Ojai River.
Sloughs, or that the river gets into,
Yeah.
real common.
In Michigan, they call those dogfish. Brandon Wilson from Hart County. What's the best walleye lake in Kentucky? That man right there.
Yeah, that's the walleye masters.
Yeah, well, I do like to fish for walleye, and luckily we're seeing some pretty good walleye populations now. Lake Cumberland's coming back. Numbers-wise, it's very good this year. Still lacking a little bit on size of fish, but a lot of 3-pounders in the lake. Laurel's a good walleye lake. Carr Creek Lake is a good walleye lake. They're also stocked in Green River, Nolin. So several good opportunities for walleye in the state.
Russell's from Franklin County. Are there still easement rights on the Kentucky River, and how do you find them?
I'm not sure on that one. I don't know if that's a Corps issue or what. That's not through us, so it may be a phone call to the Corps to start out, or the Kentucky River Authority.
You know, if your question does not get answered tonight, we have great information people who can look that up. We don't have all the books here, but they can look that up. 1-800-858-1549. Again, that's 1-800-858-1549. And also, you can send your mail to number 1 Sportsman's Lane, Frankfort, Kentucky, 40601. And also www.fw.ky.gov. Say that 5 times fast as you can.
WWF.
That's pretty good. William is from Illinois, and we say thanks to our Illinois viewers. Is there a warning on the catfish for consumption at the Smithland Pool?
Yeah, I think there's contaminant advisories throughout the Ohio River. That's in our fishing guide. We have a whole section on warnings or advisories is what they are for fish contaminants. So the best thing is to go to the guide and look, and it'll list it by pools.
Roy's from Campbell County. Do kayaks and canoes have to be registered for use on public waters?
No, as long as you're paddling and it's not mechanically propelled by a trolling motor or something like that, it does not have to be.
Gentry is from Bowling Green. New culling rule. Culling, okay. Is this
That would
just for
be-
sport fishing or trout?
It's for trout. And what that means is if you catch a trout and you take it in your possession, whether it's on a creel or in a basket or in your live well, you can't replace it with another fish that you catch. You can't let that go and put the other fish on there. Trout don't handle holding them very well.
Ozzy's from Campbell County. 3 prongs for frogs and 5 for fish. Are there specifics when you use a frog gig or a fish gig? Is there a number of prongs that you have to use?
I don't think so.
I don't think, not off the top of my head.
A gig is a gig?
Yep.
Okay. James is from E-Town. How is the Nolin smallmouth population?
I don't have an answer to that one. That's a population. What they probably need to do is just give Rob Rold, who's the district biologist for that lake in the Northwestern District. You can find his number in our guide as well. Give Rob a call. He'll be able to answer that in 2 seconds.
Gotcha. Here's a question from Ken from Indiana. And again, thank our Indiana viewers. How good are leeches for red ear fishing? And how do you use them to fish with? They work good.
Oh, yeah. It's good.
If you can get them on a hook. But they are good for anything. They're good
Yeah.
for catfish. Leeches are wonderful, Ken. Marcus from Campbell County. Did Fish and Wildlife stock tiger muskie in Laurel Lake?
No, we did not. somebody stocked a few northern pike in Laurel Lake several years ago, but we haven't stocked any muskie.
Okay, Don is from Lawrence County. How are the fish making a comeback in the Tug River after the spill we had a few years ago?
I think the population's coming back. They got hit pretty good, but I think, they can migrate up to Ohio, and I think we may have put some fish in, if I remember right. So I think they're doing okay. I don't have the exact numbers, but they're recovering.
Eddie Hill is from Breckenridge County. If his freezer is fully stocked, can I still fish?
Yes, he's referring to his possession limit. Once those fish are clean and in the freezer, he can still go back and fish.
Jim Reese is from Indiana. Am I allowed to catch spoonbill out of the Ohio River if I buy a Kentucky license?
Snagging wise, yeah. Yes, you can.
Greg is from Carter County, and he wants to know the number of muskies stocked in Kentucky in Tigers Creek each year. Do we have a rough number? Or is there a way we can check that?
It's probably around 40 or 50, I'm guessing, somewhere in that range, but they're 13 inches.
Oh, so they're up
Or
there.
actually, no, in Tigers, they're probably about 9 inches, but we're definitely putting enough in there to sustain that population. So.
Gotcha. Dennis is from Wayne County. Coosa bass in Kentucky, question mark?
Yes, we have them, and I think you've done shows on them out in Martin's Fork. Is
Martin
that where
Fork
you're
Lake.
getting them?
We tried to see how many species of bass we could catch in one day. We caught them all.
deal.
I beat Carrie Prather.
That's pretty much the only place in Kentucky that you'll find them.
Yeah. Richard from Campbell County. Hybrids, good or bad on Harrington Lake this year? What have you heard?
It's that's a population that we're struggling with a little bit. We actually have a research project going on where we're looking at 2 different strains of the hybrids to see maybe if we can get a little bit better survival. We just aren't seeing them last too long in the lake, so we're working on it. It's okay, but we'd like to make it better.
Terry is from Butler County. When is sucker season? When is the snagging season? Has it already passed us by?
Snagging season's February 1st to May 10th, so we're
still in it?
but it's getting close to the end.
Okay, John Goff is from Hazard. Are there northern pike in the North Fork of the Kentucky River?
I don't think we have any, shouldn't have any pike in
No,
the
they'd
state.
find some muskie in there. I don't know if that's what he's seeing.
Bill is from Breckenridge County. Why no smallmouth bass in Red River Lake?
Red River Lake.
That's what it says, but they may mean Red
Well,
River.
the general response, if we're not stocking them in a lake, it's typically because of they have a specific habitat need, which is a cool water and oxygenated water, and a lot of the lakes in Kentucky don't have that. So most likely, if we're not putting them in there, it just wouldn't be a water quality to support smallmouth.
Steve's from Estill County. How often and what kind of fish do we stock in the Kentucky River?
Stock sauger, and now I think in the upper Kentucky, looking at stocking native walleye.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you what, not to give away next week's show, but we were catching some nice sauger and walleye out of the Kentucky River. My granddaughter caught like a 21-inch sauger.
We've also stocked white bass and hybrid striped bass and largemouth and I think catfish in there as well throughout the years.
Warren's from southern Indiana. Where's a good place to catch rainbows and brown trout and brook trout in Kentucky? You have the answer to that.
That's an easy answer. Lake Cumberland tailwaters.
Oh, man.
It's actually been very good this spring when the water's been fishable, and actually having probably a new state record brook trout.
Every 15 minutes.
Yeah. I think it's around 3.5 pounds, and I don't think it's completely done with all the paperwork, but looks like we'll have a new brook trout record this year.
Bill wants to know if there's any size restriction on catfish in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, there's some of our smaller lakes have a 12-inch size limit. Blue cats on Taylorsville and Dewey and Fish Trap. You got 15 fish with 1 over 25, and then we have the new regulation on the Ohio River where you can have a trophy reg where you can have 1 blue and 1 flathead, 35 inches and larger, and you can have 1 channel, 28 inches and larger.
Josh is from Franklin County. Can you walk the banks of Elkhorn Creek? This needs to be addressed because there are issues there.
Well, if it's privately owned, you can't walk the bank.
So if you have stepped out of your boat into the water, you're on somebody's property?
Technically, yes, all the way down to the water. That could be somebody's property and you could be trespassing.
Charlotte from Henderson, what kind of bait should you use to fish for trout in a lake? Now, a kid sent me a picture of a huge rainbow trout that they caught at Laurel Lake not long ago.
Yeah,
on
you can use a
corn.
variety of, well, I was going to say corn is one of the better baits. Also a variety of small spinners like rooster tails. You can troll small crankbaits. That's usually effective right after they're stocked in early spring. Just troll a shallow running crankbait that's fairly small and you'll catch plenty of trout.
Michael is from Harlan, caught an 8-pound bass on Martin Fork Lake. So he wants to know how old would that fish be?
Martin's Fork, my guess is it's probably
155 years old?
It's probably pretty old,
yeah.
10 or 12, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
10 or
That's a
12
big
years.
fish for Martin
Oh,
Fork.
yeah. Don's from Pendleton County. Any Asian carp in the Licking River?
Yes, we got one report all the way up to the Cave Run Dam, but I'd expect there'd be more out towards the mouth of the Ohio, confluence with the Ohio. But yes, they're about in every tributary along the Ohio.
John is from Jefferson County. Where do you find fishing reports on lakes around Kentucky? I know this one outfit called Kentucky Afield. We have biologists come on every week, and they tell what's going on in their district, and we change it up from week to week, and that's one place. But where else might they get that
There's some
information?
websites out there. Probably the biggest one would be fishing.com, I think. That's probably the biggest site where a lot of the anglers kind of post what they've been catching.
The Corps of Engineers
Yep.
has some numbers you can call to get the latest fishing report on certain lakes.
A lot of
Lakes.
the guide services as well.
All right, Ed Shadburn is from Jefferson County, and he says, what should I fish for? He's going to Kentucky Dam Village on Derby weekend. Well, I've been hearing some stories about some red ear
Yes.
already turning on down there, so that's what I'd be
That's
thinking
key
about.
period for red ear.
Yeah.
I think the crappie, just to bring this up, spawned fairly early this year, and a lot of them have gone deep. So if people are heading out to fish shallow for the crappie, it may be a little bit of a struggle right now.
Craig's from Breckenridge County. Do my friends and family have to have a fishing license to fish on my private property?
Yes, they do.
Unless they permanently live there, correct?
Yes.
Katie's from Lewis County. What happened to the eels? Can't seem to find any. What'd you do with the eels, John?
We hit them all. I don't see eels in my part of the state, but I know some of the river systems have had reports of some.
Mike is from Fayette County. Here's a good question. If you're fishing for Asian carp or shooting with a bow, whatever, where do you put them after you kill them? Well, I'll tell you what, I kill a bunch of them, and if you can puncture that airbag, they'll sink. You do not want to take them back and show them to everybody at the boat dock and lay them at the base of the boat dock, because everybody who comes and fishes for the next month is going to smell that horrible smell. It is a good thing to get as many as we can out, and we're probably not putting a dent in them, but you can also use them for fertilizer, and you can eat them. I don't know how many people have told me I'm crazy, but it's
Oh, yeah.
would somebody back me up here?
No, they're
It's good to eat.
It takes a little work with the bones in them, but once you get the flesh out of it, they're actually really good.
Braden's from Henderson County. Best bait for bass fishing.
It all,
that's
well, I mean, if you want just a generic bait, spinner baits, crank baits, plastic worms.
Plastic
probably
worms,
the
jigs.
safe
I
way
like
to
a
go.
jig.
Yeah.
Let's see. Linda is from Davis County. Are they done with the work on Kingfisher Lake?
Yes, they're cleaning up a few of the new jetties that they put out, but other than that, I think they are done with the work, and the lake's filling right now, and we should be stocking it this summer and fall.
All right, if you see me throwing a question away, it's not because I don't like you or John Williams doesn't like you more than likely, but I am seeing a double, something we've already answered. Lois wants to know, she's from Floyd County, where can I find a fishing paddle boat? And I suppose she's talking about that kayak that I use. Well, they make two brands of those. One of them's a Hobie, and one of them, the one that I use is a Native, and you can find those in Frankfort at Canoe, Kentucky. Those are fabulous. Mike's from Callaway County. Have the crappie declined in Kentucky Lake?
We, no, I mean, the crappie populations are variable, and from what our biologists are seeing, they think it's probably about stable right now. It hasn't had any big declines. I think what some people are seeing right now is the fact that the crappie did have a somewhat early spawn, and they're already out in deeper waters. So may need to change some tactics this year.
Jim is from Russell County. What is a Coosa bass? I guess we should explain that.
It's just another one
Type
of the
black bass.
Yeah.
Black
They
bass
don't get as
species.
big. I mean, what's a large one get? And what's the different characteristics of that fish as opposed
I'll let our former black bass biologist answer.
to? Jump right in there, Jeff.
Oh, I don't. As far as they are a much smaller fish, and the characterizations and the patterning and stuff on them is much different than what you'd see in a largemouth.
What do you see? Is that what they call them? Brownies sometimes? What do they call them?
I don't think.
I don't
No.
know. I haven't heard
Seem
that.
like they got a little red in their fin or something. I've caught them.
Yeah. Yep.
Steve's from Shelby County. He got 11.5 pound hybrid bass out of Gist Creek. Now, what is that a good one? What's a large?
Yeah, that's good for Gist Creek.
What's one of the largest ones
I
been
think
caught
the
out of there?
records out at Gist. I'm not sure. The record for hybrids about 20 or so.
Wow.
I think so.
Probably, yeah.
But that's one of the lakes we stock. A small lake that we stock. A little bit different.
Dennis is from Anderson County. Why can't we get some muskie stocked in Taylorsville Lake? You know, you can't just take a random fish and put it. Each lake has its own personality.
Yeah,
Why would you not want
Taylorsville,
muskie?
the water quality at Taylorsville during the summer and fall is rough. We try to keep most of the muskie stockings in their native ranges, so that just doesn't seem to fit for our stocking protocol for muskie.
And Don's from, excuse me, Bullitt County. Has the red ear and bluegill, have they started nesting in Kentucky and Berkeley? And I have heard reports that is true, so we might be making a trip down there shortly. The red ear, for
The
sure.
district, Paul Reister, the district biologist, said he's seeing them shallow. He's not seeing them spawning yet, but they're definitely on their way.
Willie Joe wants to know, he's got a farm pond, and he never sees small catfish. Are they being eaten by the large ones?
Well, unless he has some type of cavities in the pond, they're probably not reproducing, so he wouldn't see small ones. Catfish, if you want catfish reproduction in your pond, you need to provide some type of cavity that they can get in to spawn.
Grant is from Hardin County. He has an airboat. He wants to know, can he run it on Kentucky lakes?
Absolutely.
No law against that. He said he's been trying to find out for 2 years. I see him using those for bow fishing all the time out
Unless
west.
there's a local regulation, maybe a noise ordinance or something against it, he should be fine.
Let's see. Davis wants to know, can you clean a rough fish on your boat?
Well, the reg, I think that may just be for sport fish that you can't remove the head or tail.
Unless it has a krill limit or a size
Right,
limit.
so I think
Gotcha.
a rough fish you could.
Yeah, you'd be fine on rough
He wants to
fish.
know if a red eye is considered a rough fish.
If he's talking rock bass.
Rock
I'm talking about
Small,
rock
yeah.
bass.
Yeah, it's not a sport fish.
Actually, rock bass have a size limit, like 15.
No,
If he's talking about a red eye, the creek.
Yeah, the creek
Right.
one.
I thought they had
They
a-
don't.
Okay.
Tony's from Pendleton
think-
County. Are they going to have walleye fishing in Cave Run Lake?
No.
Not to my knowledge.
No.
And there's a lot of questions, a whole lot of questions about the Asian carp. Can you give us just a rough update? We did it at the first part of the show, but maybe people are tuning in and getting a bunch of them.
The big push right now is just getting these processors out west that will be exporting or creating fish meal or selling fillets, getting them up and running and working with the commercial fishermen, because that's going to be our main way of getting those Asian carp out of there, is getting large numbers out through the marketing of those fish.
Frankie is from Cincinnati. Have sharks been found in the river? I know there's a recent picture, and I don't know if it's
Yeah, I think they get them way down in the Mississippi, but not this. I think I've heard a report of a bull shark way up here somewhere,
Yeah.
but no.
there's all kinds of those little things get started. Jeff's from Indiana. How has the heavy rain affected crappie numbers this spring, or has it at all?
It probably got water up into the trees, which would help, but, out at Kentucky Lake, from talking to our biologist, the lakes were actually down at the time that they spawned, and they weren't in the good cover that they needed. So I think if you get the high water, other than it being really muddy and possibly having an issue with the beds and everything else, it did get them up into some good habitat to spawn in.
Matthew Teeter on Facebook. I have a pretty big family from Meade County. What would be the best lake to fish close to that from Meade County? Let's take his family out.
Mead, I'm trying to even...
What part of the state's that in?
These, you know what? This is a good time to tell you about our information number.
Fishery
1-800
biologist, not a...
1-800-858-1549. Again, if we can't answer your question tonight, and some of them we can't, look right here at this graphic, 1-800-858-1549. And there's a www.fw.ky.gov. Also, number 1 Sportsman's Lane, Frankfort, Kentucky, 40601, if you want to write us the old-fashioned way. Let me tell you what, our information people are the best in the world, am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody, Monday morning, give them a call. They get mad at me when I do that. Andrews from Pulaski County, walleye population in Lake Cumberland. What's it looking like?
It's looking a lot better. A few years ago, you know, with the drawdown and the poor habitat and deep water, walleye we had a slight die-off of walleye, and but now things are looking up. We've got several good year classes coming on. We still don't have big fish, but we've got a lot of what I would call eating size fish, you know, 2 to 3 pound walleye. It should be a pretty good year on Lake Cumberland.
Tim's from Scott County, are they still stocking alligator gar, and what progress have they made?
I think our stockings, we are still stocking them. We haven't been, the study that we had ongoing with the tracking and stuff is over. I think we'll probably let them just kind of build up, and then we'll go back out and see. There is a new reg as far as bow fishing and sport fishing that you can't harvest them. We're just trying to protect them the best we can.
Speaking of that, Jeff's from Edmonson County. Do you have to have a fishing license for bow fishing in Nolan Lake or any lake?
Yes.
Now, could they have a hunting license to
Yes.
do that? Either or?
You could have either or.
Gotcha. Ralph Smith is from Menifee County. Where is the world record muskie from?
Came out of, world record.
World
I
record.
don't know.
It's not here,
No.
but the Kentucky record is. It was out of a few years ago out of Cave Run.
Yeah, Cave Run, Sarah, I can't remember what her last name was, but it was a nice one.
Sarah Terry, nice
Sarah
one.
Terry.
Dudley is from Lewis County. What happens when a lake turns over? Good question.
That is a good question. Lakes in Kentucky normally turn over in the fall. During the summer, you have warm water on top and then a thermocline and cold water on the bottom. And in the fall, when the surface waters start cooling, eventually it becomes all the same temperature from top to bottom, and then it can mix freely, and that's what's usually known as fall turnover.
Paul's from West Liberty. Are there smallmouth in Cave Run?
Yes, there are. It's been a pretty low-level population, although some of the anglers are saying they're starting to see more of them. So hopefully they're building a little bit, but they are in Cave Run.
Josh is from Jefferson County. Can you shoot bullfrogs with a .22 rifle from a boat, or do you have to gig them?
Yes, you can. You can shoot them.
I like his answers. Yes, no, yes, no.
I can do that.
Yeah, cut and dry. Let's see. Nick is from Franklin County. Do we still stock muskie in the Kentucky River above Lockport?
Yes, we were putting muskie in every year in there, and there's some really good fish.
Dan Smith is from Breckenridge County. He has a pond with a lot of algae on it. Now, that when I used to work in fisheries, that was a very common problem. What do you do?
Right, that's a common problem. We see filamentous algae. It's kind of a slimy green. A lot of times floats on the surface, and you see a lot of bubbles in it. That can be controlled with copper sulfate compounds. You can get them at farm supply stores. Cutrine Plus is one of the brand names. It's common with that. Easily control it. You just don't want to wait until you have way too much. If you kill it all at once, it can cause oxygen depletion and cause fish
Now,
kill.
that's part of your job, is to look at farm ponds in different places. And Terry from Corbin, right on the money right here. What are the job responsibilities of a fisheries biologist? What's your day-to-day? What do you do from spring to fall?
Well, this is out of the ordinary, right?
But you're doing fine.
Primarily, our responsibilities are managing the fish populations in in my particular instance, 15-county area in southeast Kentucky. Work with fish populations, stocking, size limit changes, creel limits. We also have a technical guidance program for farm pond owners. If you're fishing's poor in your farm pond and want some advice, we can come out and sample the fish population and make recommendations to improve the fishing.
John is from Fayette County. What are the black spots you see on the sides of the fish and sometimes on their lips and down their side?
Black spots, if it may be talking about black grubs, which is a common parasite found in fish. We see it quite often. It actually has a fairly complicated life cycle. The adults are in a fish-eating bird, and then they pass their eggs through their feces into the water, and it goes to a snail, and then from a snail to a fish, and then the bird has to eat the fish to complete the life cycle. So but it's a common parasite. It's actually, if you cook the fish properly, then there's no harm. You can't catch them.
Duke is from Campbell County. Did the motor restrictions pass on Kincaid Lake?
Yes, well, there's 8 lakes they passed on, Bolts, Bullock, Corinth, Elmer, Kincaid, Beaver, Shanty Hollow, and Swan Lake. And what that reg is now is if you have a boat motor that's larger than 10 horsepower, you can now operate it on those lakes, but it can only be at idle speed.
Timothy's from Bullitt County. He wants further information on something we talked about earlier. If you're waist deep with your feet on the ground in the water, is that still trespassing if you're in a creek?
It's kind of, yes, technically you are. Once you get out of that boat and you're on the ground, you're still trespassing. I would contact your local conservation officer to talk more about it.
Clark is from Boyd County. Will striped bass hurt the crappie population in Grayson Lake?
No, they've been, they were in there for a long time. We stopped stocking them for a while because we thought there might be some competition with the bass, but that was not the case, so we've put them back in. They will feed to a degree on sport fish, but it's not enough that it's going to hamper the crappie population.
Fred's from Bullitt County. A lot of Bullitt County folks tonight. Is it good to put red ear in a pond if you don't have any in there, or will they take over? Has lots of bluegills, some bass, and some catfish. Is that going to hurt his farm pond?
You can put red ear in a pond if you want to replace some of the bluegill population with red ear. Typically, red ear don't reproduce as much as bluegill, but the bluegill should be able to take up the slack there. So that's really the only other fish we recommend besides our largemouth bass, bluegill, channel catfish stockings.
Matt is from Fayette County. When the shad spawn is on at Lake Cumberland, what kind of bait do you use when you're fishing?
Or use something that looks like a shad.
Specifically, what do you use? I know you fish.
Well, I know they do swim baits, large crankbaits. There's a lot of shad imitating baits out there.
Thunder sticks,
Yeah.
slivers.
Sierra is from Owen County. Here's a good question. How many fish does the Frankfurt Fish Hatchery place in the streams and lakes? How many fish
Well,
go
with
out
both
of there?
hatcheries together, I think the number, if you count fry and everything else, is probably 6 million plus.
Wow,
Yeah, there's
6 million
yeah, they
fish.
produce a lot of fish. They're not all gigantic ones, but depending on the lake, some use small fish and some take the bigger ones. So, but a lot of fish.
Tricia is from Carter County. Where's the best place to go fishing in Kentucky? Well, boy, that's rough. That's a rough thing to say because we have so much fishable water.
Yeah, all parts of the state have really good areas. If there was one generic answer that we usually
Close to her, maybe. I said,
Where's
is
she from?
Carter County? Gosh,
you know,
Greenbow Lake's fun. Grayson Lake's fun.
Yeah, Greenbow's got some good fish. It's got the trophy bass came out there at one time, so that that would be a good lake to go to.
Dean's from Grant County. Is Eagle Creek classified as a creek or a river?
Well, I guess it's termed Eagle Creek, and there's a lot of different ways to define that, but I guess it would be I don't know, what would you call that?
I'm not familiar.
It's northern Kentucky. It's probably a creek.
Kevin is from Barron County. Can you cull crappie after you have your limit?
You can keep fishing as long as you release what you catch if you've reached your limit of crappie.
John is from Greenup County. What kind of license do I have to open a small tackle shop?
I guess if you're selling bait, you need a live bait dealer's license. Other than that, I don't think there's any regulations to us for a bait shop other than for the fish.
Rob is from Johnson County. Did they stock Dewey Lake with muskie?
Yes, we did. We started last year, and we'll be doing that every year. Right now, the size limit is 30, but we will be proposing, or we have proposed, and it's going through the legislative process to make it 36 inches like the other reservoirs, so we'll see what happens.
Benson's from Montgomery County. Where have sturgeon been stocked?
Lake sturgeon?
We've stocked lake sturgeon in Upper Cumberland, the headwaters of Lake Cumberland, both in Big South Fork and the Cumberland River below Cumberland Falls. That's an ongoing 20-year restoration plan. I think we're in about year 7 or 8. They do appear to be doing well, growing fast. We sampled them last fall and got good numbers. And several year classes, even some from the initial stocking back in 2007. So, and anglers are catching a few, so we're getting reports of those too.
Earl is from Grayson. Can you eat the fish out of Rough River Lake? Now, he's referring to the algae issues.
The blue-green algae. Yeah, you can, some of the lakes have that, what they call harmful algal blooms, and it is an issue with contact with the water if you're in the heavy density areas of the blue-greens. But as far as fishing goes, what we're asking people to do is if you do want to eat the fish, that you take the skin and the guts out, and then you wash it with clean tap water. Don't use the lake water to wash them.
Mark's from Owen County. Are there any streams in Kentucky to fish for wild trout?
There's a couple, well, not wild. We've got some brook trout streams that have some limited reproduction, Dog Fork and Poor Fork and Parched Corn and Shillelagh. And is that it? I'm missing
Martin's
one.
Fork.
Yeah, but most of the trout streams in Kentucky get too warm and they just don't have the right habitat for good natural reproduction. Most of them are stocked.
Gary lives down on Nolan Lake. What's the difference between Asian carp and regular carp?
Well, the Asian carp is came from China long ago. They came to the southern states to be used in aquaculture facilities to knock down algae and feed on mussels, a whole different species. But they're an invasive and much more threatening than the common carp.
Charles is from Fayette County. Do disabled people get a different license? And if so, where do I get it? They can get a cheaper license if you can afford it. I would advise you to do that because those 6 million fish that go in our lakes and streams and so on and so forth, if nobody's paying for that, then we can't continue these deals. If you can't afford it, we want you to be able to fish, but there is a disabled license. You have to prove that you're disabled through your doctor, and you can come up and get that done. Aaron's from Campbell County. Where would be a good place to catch red ear and bluegill? Should have brought my glasses, Jeff. Close to northern Kentucky.
Corinth is making a comeback. That used to be a really good red ear lake, and it is coming back.
Didn't you do a shad
Yeah, we've
eradication up there?
and part of the reason they disappeared is because shad got stocked in that lake, which we just tell anglers, please don't put shad in these lakes because it really does hurt the sport fish populations. But Corinth and Elmer Davis has got some good fish too.
All right, here's a young fella. His name is Tristan. He's from Carter County. What's the limit on catfish in Grayson Lake?
Grayson probably has no limit, would be my guess. I don't think.
I'm not sure.
No, there's no
It's
limit
not
on
one of the
Grayson.
12-inch deals.
No, that's no limit.
Okay, Aaron's from Davis County. What are the chances of catfish being listed as a sport fish in Kentucky?
I think they will probably remain a rough fish. We in areas that we do see issues with the fish populations, we will put regs on them. But I think as far as naming them a sport fish, I think they're going to remain a rough fish.
Doug is from Taylor County. Wants to know, is the white bass fishing down on Green River Lake? Are they being stocked?
Green River Lake, in several of our reservoirs, we've had a major issue with the white bass populations, and we're not quite sure exactly what's happening. Maybe the areas that they're spawning in, too much sedimentation, or the lake levels have shifted, but the white bass, for the most part, have disappeared in Green River Lake. We have been stocking them back in for probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and there's a few in there, but not a ton.
Are they going to stock trout on Clear Fork River near Tennessee? Wayne wants to know.
There's Clear Fork. I'm not sure. There's Clear Creek in Bell County that's stocked with trout. I'm not sure about Clear Fork. I don't know if that's.
No, if he's not talking about Clear Creek, then no.
Okay. Glenn's from Christian County. What is frog gigging season? When does that come in?
Opens the third Friday in May at noon every year. You can take bullfrogs.
John is from Henderson. What's the limit on Asian carp?
Unlimited.
26 billion.
Yeah.
When you reach that, you can stop. Let's see. Oh, Gary's from Jefferson County. I think he's referring to the tournament they had down there. Are they going to have the fishing competition again this year for the Asian carp?
The Carp Madness tournament. As of now, nothing this spring. We are in discussions for this fall, but not sure as of yet.
Richard is from Jefferson County. What is the size limit on muskie?
We've got three, statewide it's one fish, 30 inches, but we've got 3 reservoirs, Green, Buckhorn, and Cave Run, where it's one fish and it's 36 inches. And then we've got that proposal out there that's been approved and going through the legislative process to make Dewey 36 inches as well.
Joey is from Marion County. What's the population of smallmouth bass look like on Fagan Branch?
That's going to be a district biologist call. I'm not sure. Do you have any idea? Eric Cummins is the district biologist for Fagan Branch, so they can look his number up in the fishing guide. Give him a call.
Jamie's from Lawrence County caught a 5.5 pound bluegill.
That would be a state record.
And he says, what is the record size so far?
It's 4 something.
So,
He needs,
Jamie,
He needs
Needs
to.
to submit that. Yeah.
he needs to bring that
The
in.
biologist needs to see it. Don't fillet it.
Tell him what you have to do to
You need
make
to
sure it's
have
ready.
it weighed on a certified scale. There's 3 witnesses that need to see it. The biologist needs to see it before it's filleted. So start that process, and then the biologist will pass that along, and we'll
Don't eat
work
it.
on it. Yeah.
Don't eat it.
We have had several that have been filleted,
Oh, wow.
potential state records.
Bill is from Boyd County. He wants to know why they don't have hybrid striper in Yatesville Lake. They're doing good in Grayson. He's just wondering why they don't have it over there.
Just, sometimes, we want to limit the number of predator species in a reservoir. It's just not a reservoir that we've looked at for hybrids.
Tim is from Indiana. What size cast net can you use on the Ohio River to catch bait? What size mesh?
Mesh. I think it's 1-inch mesh and 20-foot diameter. I think that's statewide, if I remember right.
Joe is from Grayson. Is there an algae situation in Nolin Lake? Let's talk real quick about this. We're getting a bunch of algae questions.
Yeah.
We had an issue last year, and what do you have to look out for?
The Corps has started testing and Division of Water for the state for harmful algal blooms, blue-green algae, and it's kind of like a paint color, bluish-green paint color that you'll see, and they can produce toxins that are, give you skin rashes, and they can actually make you sick. So you got to use caution in the lakes, especially when you're seeing that type of algae out there. They do put advisories out each year for the lakes that have them. So if you go swimming or whatever, make sure you rinse off real well, rinse off your life jackets. The pets are real susceptible, so try to prevent them from drinking that water or licking them, the blue-greens off of their skin. And then like we already talked about with cleaning the fish.
Troy's from E-Town. How is bluegill fishing on Beaver Lake?
It's good. I took the kids out there, well, that was last year, but they had a ball. And they've been out sampling, and it's still going strong.
Chester's from Carter County. Why don't they stock walleye in Grayson Lake?
It's not one of the lakes that we've looked at for it. We try to keep an eye out for the different lakes that would provide good fishing opportunities, and that's just not one that we've looked at recently.
David's from Ohio County. Difference between a red ear and a shellcracker?
They are the same.
Same deal.
Yep.
Danny's from Ohio County. Why do you have to give a Social Security number when you buy a fishing license?
I think that is a state law, and I'm not sure the background on it, but it may have been, I think that might have been with having to do with child support, if I remember right. Don't ask me, but I think there's a tie to that. I think it's a state law that, requires that.
Gary is from Henry County. Benji Kinman Lake, how is the bass population?
It's very good. It's getting a ton of pressure right now. We did put new regulations on it, and Benji Kinman Lake has a no harvest on largemouth, so it's something to keep in mind. But it's got a good population, some good fish in it, but taking a beating right now.
It's not my fault. Just because I fought and caught a big fish out of there, don't blame it on me, okay? Dave's from Fayette County, wants to do some bank fishing. What's a good place that he can go do that in Fayette County?
Fayette County, you got Jacobson Park. It's probably the
Don't we
best.
stock trout
That's a
down there?
Finns Lake, and then we actually started stocking trout in West Hickman Creek, which runs through Veterans Park. So they'll be in there at least till the water warms up.
Talk about Finns Lake. What is a Finns Lake?
We got a program called Fishing in the Neighborhoods where we try to provide lakes close to home and communities, and they have good access, they have good amenities, and we stock the crud out of them so that there's always fish there for people to catch. So instead of people having to worry about trying to get on the big lakes, and it's been a great place to go this spring with the high water, you can go to these Finns Lakes, and we've got a listing on our website. You can find out we got 40 of them, so there's got to be one near everybody almost.
That's fw.ky.gov. And Richard Rohr on Facebook, where are good locations for handicapped folks to fish? Where are some good access places people can go? Most of our lakes.
Yeah, we try to get them and, all spread throughout the state, but I know, even Cumberland and stuff don't they have something out there?
I think the Corps has some areas, yeah.
And we've got Cedar Creek Lake and Taylorsville, just thinking there's a lot of them out there.
David Cummings on Facebook, is there any other access to Dix River other than the Kentucky River?
No, that's primarily the only way you can get in is go in by boat from the Kentucky and come up the Dix River.
Will is from Somerset. Where can we find green worms?
I think I know the worms he's talking about. I have seen them, but I don't know what their requirements are different than regular earthworms. But
Grange is from Harrison County. Senior citizen fishing license, how to acquire?
I think you probably just show your age at where you buy your license. 65, I think.
And again, if you can afford it, go ahead and buy it because these programs don't pay for themselves. But there is that program in place. Mike's from Mercer County. How did stripers get into the Kentucky River?
That's moving up through the Ohio River is where the reason they'd be in
we
there.
stock the Ohio River annually,
Yeah.
right?
Kenneth, Perry County, are there any new statewide regulations on blue catfish?
I know we have, you got the Ohio River where you can only have one fish over 35 inches and greater, and then we've got Taylorsville, Dewey, and Fish Trap. It's 15 fish, one over 25 inches.
Bob's from Scott County. How are crappie and bluegill doing on Lake Barkley?
We kind of mentioned the crappie. It's, if you're going out now to fish for them, they're going to be deeper, but the bluegill doing excellent, and that season's coming up quickly.
Nick is from Bullitt County. Small farm pond. What's the ideal depth for recreational fishing? Depends on what time of year and what you're fishing for, I guess.
So you mean the depth of the pond or how deep to fish in the pond?
For fishing, apparently, when you're fishing.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time they're pretty shallow in ponds, and a lot of lakes in Kentucky, there's not much oxygen below the thermocline, so once you get 5 or 6 feet deep in the summer, there's not going to be much oxygen anyway, so the fish are going to be relatively shallow.
We've covered this once. We're going to do it again. Joe's from Bullitt County. Do you need a hunting license to shoot bullfrogs with a .22?
You can have either or.
Either or. We might have broken some kind of record tonight. We've answered a bunch of questions. Ron is from London. The Laurel River Lake population of walleye, do they spawn naturally?
They do at least go through the motion spawning, and we have, if I remember correctly, we have documented natural reproduction in the lake at Laurel and also at Cumberland. They just don't reproduce enough to sustain the population, so we do supplemental stockings.
Randall's from Breckenridge County. Why don't they stock smallmouth in Rough River?
That's probably,
Another habitat issue.
it's another habitat issue. They're really finicky on, the amount of cool, oxygenated water in these lakes. A lot of these reservoirs get a thermocline that just makes it where the water's too warm and where there's oxygen.
Dan is from Indiana. He wants to come to the free fishing weekend. When is that?
June 6th,
6th
and
7th,
7th.
I think. Yeah.
Tony's from Pendleton County. Where's the best place to catch bait in Lake Cumberland?
Under a light. I know that the guides get up early in the morning to cast net for shad and alewives. If you've got a light at the end of the dock, that's usually a good place to start.
Duncan's from Montgomery County. Does anybody have their fishing guide with them? He wants to know what's the state record for flathead catfish, and if you don't have
It's 97 pounds, isn't it?
For flathead, yeah.
97 pounds. Wow. And if you get one of these handy dandy books, it has all that information in it, and that's John Williams playing the guitar with his feet back in 1972. You know what? When you hear that music, that's our buddy Eddie Pennington. That means an hour has transferred. I told you to go quick.
It did go fast.
What'd you think? Did that go fast?
That was quick.
And congrats again, by the way. And thank you again from the Becoming an Outdoor Women volunteers for answering the phones tonight. Let's try to sneak one more in here. Jeff is from McCreary County. Do you have to have a bait license just to sell night crawlers? If you're going to sell bait, do you have to have a license?
Yes, you have to have a bait license.
Freddie from Nolan Lake are talking about putting a marina around Bear Creek. Heard any news of that?
No, I haven't heard. That doesn't mean it's not happening, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Is there any difference, Roger wants to know, between a sturgeon and a hackleback?
I think that's probably one of the common names of a sturgeon, but I'm not certain on that.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.